Questions here. I'm trying to pick and choose here because there's so many. I really have to navigate these carefully here. Does this one make sense? Okay, Lynn writes in. Lynn, Montgomery, Alabama. Okay, it's kind of like 6 or 7 down there. Just relevant kind of to the crux of what we're talking about. You don't have this one? You should have this one. I sent this to you earlier. No, they sent it to all of us. Anyway, do you believe that the intraday low on the S&P is the low for this bear market compared to the 1932 low for the S&P? Scott's basically he's still making the link and trying to do the comp between now and the Great Depression.
Well, as you know, I was on your show on March 6 when the S&P touched 666, and since then we had this very powerful rally. I don't believe that we will make new lows this year because if the economy and financial conditions worsen once again, they'll print even more money and the deficits will be even larger. So the worse the economic conditions will be, actually, the more markets could go up, funnily. It's a paradox, but that happens when you inflate your money supply dramatically.
And then you'd be making a quick exit out of stocks then at that point. You wouldn't want to, because you don't know when somebody's going to prick the pin into the balloon and just bring that whole fake party to an end.
Well, basically, we are in a period that will be characterized by very, very high volatility. Every year, markets will move up and down 30–40%. And, you know, we were very oversold on March 6 when the S&P was at 666. And in Asian markets, most markets bottomed out in October, November of last year. And we were once again oversold in March. Now, I would say the markets are not that cheap anymore, and near term, we're rather overbought.
Right.
So if you have no position, I would not necessarily buy stocks today.
I need to find a bond question here. For heaven's sakes, give me a bond, because you know, the opposite side of the equation is obviously make a beeline for bond or something. Here's one from Michael. Do you have the one on hyperinflation there? Can you find that one, Michael? Question for Faber number 2. He says, City 99 at the handle. He says, is the U.S. Let me find it. See, you're all writing in. Let me just say it. Is the U.S. more likely to eventually default on debt or see hyperinflation? Do you see the possibility of that, since we've been talking about the huge amount of Treasury issuance that's been going on?
I don't think that the U.S. will default on its debt by not paying the interest on the debt. But I'm 100% sure that the U.S. will go into hyperinflation. Not tomorrow, but the problem with the government debt growing so much is that when the time will come and the Fed should increase interest rates, they'll be very reluctant to do so, and so inflation will start to accelerate, and as inflation accelerates, they'll keep interest rates artificially low. By the way, this has been suggested by some academics like Mankief of Harvard, and he echoes essentially the belief of the Fed: keep your short-term interest rates below the rate of inflation in order to stimulate consumption. It's the wrong policy, but that leads to inflation eventually. Eventually, I suppose that the interest burden on the debt, as interest rates are pushed up by the marketplace, not the Fed, will be very high, and that will necessitate even more money printing.
Give me a quick 10-second answer on this. Going to break for another break.
Yes.
What kind of inflation are we talking about? We're not talking about Zimbabwe-style inflation.
Well, not that high, but close to that.
Close to Zimbabwe-style inflation? Okay, we need to talk this through. This is really scary. Asia Comp continues.